Hello and welcome again to Wood Wecognition Wednesdays with Wonky Workshop. The winner of the elm competition from the last video is on the screen for you now. Thank you very much for taking part. Please send me your address details in a DM on Instagram so that I can get that shipped off to you as soon as possible. This week, given that I'm close to 400 subscribers, I thought we could do something a bit special and have a look at figured wood. Define what figured means, explain how it's created to a certain extent, and looking at the different types of figured wood. Yes, this does mean there will be some figured wood available to win, so please share that information once you've seen the competition rules in the video. But just be warned, there is going to be some very, very sexy wood on your screens in the next few minutes. I've warned you, I am not responsible for any actions that you may take because of this. Let's have a look at them, shall we? So if we start off talking about spalted wood, which we briefly mentioned in the elm video, I have an offcut here of some spalted beech. And if we compare that to the beech of my workbench, you can see that it's drastically different. Spalting is actually a fungus, and it manifests itself in all sorts of weird and wonderful colours. We've got these lighter yellows, these black lines which are mostly indicative of the spalting, but you can also get these kind of orangey red lines as well, which segregate things out. Now, as I mentioned in the elm video, this can also manifest in different levels of hardness between the timbers, so this can be a bit difficult to work with. It planes quite nicely generally speaking, although you do get some tear out in areas such as down here, and you can turn it well, it polishes up nice and it's okay, but it's best to try and keep it away from other timbers around you, your wood store, because the spalting will kind of move along. So if you did want to encourage it into other woods, it's best to lump some together, preferably outdoors. So that's your spalted wood, that's sort of your face grain, that's some nice side grain there, and then we will also have a brief look at some end grain. So if we start then with some maple. Now this is quite a highly figured piece, so I'm just going to put some water over it to help enhance that image so you can see. So this surface here is pretty much flat, but the way that the cells have been sliced, as we've said before, and the way it's grown has created this effect that is sometimes known as flamed or fiddleback or just figured wood or rippled maple, because it looks like the ripples on waves, it looks like the wood has sort of been compressed, and you wouldn't necessarily know it's there until you cut the wood. It's not always easy to tell. And if we look at the end grain, for instance, if you just look at the end grain there, you can see that it just looks like standard maple in that cross section. You wouldn't know it was rippled or flamed or figured at all until you looked at the flat board faces. So this is a ash bowl blank, and as you can see there, this has got quite a lot of that rippling or fiddleback going through it. I'll apply some water again, see if we can get this being a bit more obvious. So that again is a nice piece, and it's just proving the point really that this is available. This can be found in a number of different species. It's not just maple or sycamore. I have here, for instance, quite a small piece of pink ivory. Pink ivory is actually one of those woods that's more likely to have this kind of pattern found in it. That's a very nice piece. We'll talk about pink ivory in the future, in a future video. So I also have a piece here of Purpleheart, and we can see by now these familiar pattern shapes in it, but you can also see all the way over here, Purpleheart is notorious for getting a bit of tear out anyway when working with it, and this is what we're talking about when we say tear out. It's where the fibres have literally, as it's sliced, it's ripped a deeper section out, so you don't have this flat surface. And when you're working with figured wood, particularly with exotic figured wood such as this Purpleheart, that can be even more prevalent, and this has all just gone through an industrial thicknesser there, and that's what's happened. So this would need to be hand planed really to try and mitigate that situation. So we're at another piece of maple now, but this is what's called bird's eye maple, and it's got all of these little what are called bird's eyes in it. Bird's eye maple is formed when the cell direction for whatever reason repeatedly gets a bit confused and starts to curl in on itself before coming out again and following the natural shape of the grain. So you have lots of these little dots that are formed to make what is called bird's eye maple. This is also commonly found in Thuya Burr, and I have a veneer of that here. Again, we have slight rippling, but also all of these little bird's eyes that can all be seen in this very thin piece. Speaking of burrs, we have here quite a small oak burr, and this is what it would look like on the outside of the tree. So this has grown probably on the side of the tree. You can see where there used to be a branch in the middle of it there, and this has been sliced off the plank, and that's the outside of it, and this is what the inside would look like. So after applying water to some areas of it, you can see how the grain is all interlocked and changing around and creating all of these different weird wonderful patterns, and these can be quite nice to turn and create a really attractive piece when finished. I'll show you what I mean. So this is a different oak burr, but still an oak burr. This is a piece I turned over a year ago now, probably nearer 2. This is the underside. I've left quite a lot of it there because otherwise you would end up with a much smaller bowl. The inside looks like that. So that's also an oak burr that's been oiled with tung oil, sanded as well obviously, and you can see all of these almost like little paw prints, if you like, clustered together, where the grain is changing in all sorts of ways and moving in all sorts of patterns. My thanks to Barbara from Tasmanian Burl USA for these images and videos. So I wanted to clarify the difference between rippled flamed fiddleback maple and curly or quilted maple. So the rippled flamed fiddleback maple is all, generally speaking, fairly straight horizontal lines in a regularish pattern, whereas the curly or quilted maple looks a lot more like top of a quilt or a sheet that's been rumpled up a little bit. It's kind of got these scoops and waves in it that are ever so much more attractive. I have a lovely little video here of some blackwood, also from Tasmanian Burl USA, where these blocks are actually for sale, not necessarily the specific one, but if you follow them on Instagram, and I'll put the link below, they've got regular updates of things that they're willing to ship out across the world. And they are absolutely stunning pieces, well worth getting your hands on some. We also have some other oddities of the figuring that can just come across. So this is a piece of Mukwa or Kiaat. I've wet it down for you a bit here, but you can see where there's elements that look a little bit like your standard flame or ripple, but then it almost sort of just goes a bit berserk, and has these wonderful little patterns on it that in some places begin to almost resemble leaves having been compressed down on the timber. And initially I thought when I saw this piece that was just shadows of compressed leaves that have been, led on it in the sunshine for quite a while. But it's not, that's actually the figuring in the timber. And that is absolutely fascinating to me, how it can come up with all these different shapes. So this piece here, we've got a bit of sapwood here, and then we've got some straight grain at this end, but for whatever reason this band all the way along this edge of the whole piece just has this gorgeous pattern running through it. So thank you once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it informative. If there's a particular type of wood you would like me to look at in a future video, please comment in the links below. Stay tuned for the rules of the competition so that you can win some of the blanks that are on screen for you now. And I will post those out as soon as the winner is declared before the next Wood Wecognition video. Thank you very much, and if you're not already, then please subscribe now and hit the like button. It keeps me motivated to keep making these videos. So once again, I will see you soon.